We just want to work, sell our crop, and have a decent life like everybody else. But if they would just leave it alone.
Iowa farmers are expressing deep concern over the economic impact of President Trump's recent tariffs, which have significantly affected the state's agriculture-dependent economy. Iowa, a leading producer of soybeans, corn, and pork, relies heavily on exports, particularly to China. The imposition of 145% tariffs on Chinese imports by the Trump administration prompted retaliatory tariffs of 125% on U.S. goods, threatening Iowa's agricultural exports. The financial repercussions are substantial. A study by the National Corn Growers Association and the American Soybean Association projected that a tariff-induced trade war could result in a 52% average decline in soybean exports and an 84% decline in corn exports to China. This could lead to annual losses ranging from $3.6 billion to $5.9 billion for soybean farmers and $0.9 billion to $1.4 billion for corn farmers. These economic strains have led to political tensions within the state. At town hall meetings, farmers have voiced frustrations over falling crop prices, rising costs, and long-term damage from the trade war. Some who previously supported Trump now feel misled or ignored, while others remain loyal, emphasizing his intentions. In response to the crisis, Iowa's agricultural leaders are urging the administration to resolve trade disputes swiftly to minimize market impacts. They emphasize that agriculture should not be used as a bargaining chip in trade negotiations. The situation underscores the delicate balance in international trade and the challenges faced by the agricultural sector amidst global trade conflicts.
When you look at, here in Iowa, you have corn, soybeans, you have hogs and pork that is exported overseas. And from the first Trump administration, the trade war, there were tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses for most of the farmers across here, the Midwest. And there is concern about what the end game is for President Trump in this trade war and what losses they could incur this go around, not just financially, but also the export markets overseas that they rely on to sell the goods they produce. Take a listen to some of our conversations. How much do all of the discussions around tariffs impact your future as you're looking out at planning?
It causes a lot of uncertainty because we don't know what to expect from the marketplace. We don't know if the export markets that we export our grain or our ethanol or our pork to, what they're going to be like after this is all said and done.
Out in the heartland of America, where the corn grows tall, the soybeans sway, and MAGA flags flap proudly in the breeze, a storm is brewing, and this one wasn't on the Weather Channel. It's economic, it's political, and it's wearing a red hat. For years, Iowa farmers have been the salt of the earth and the backbone of Trump country. You'd be hard-pressed to find a John Deere tractor that didn't have a Make America Great Again bumper sticker somewhere on it. Trump signs didn't just go on lawns. They went on grain silos, barn roofs, and sometimes, disturbingly, cows. But now, those very same folks are watching in horror as tariffs slam the doors shut on their export markets. China, not known for subtlety, has responded to Trump's trade war with retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural goods, particularly soybeans and pork, both of which Iowa produces in abundance. It's like someone declared war on brunch. Suddenly, that tough-on-China stance doesn't taste quite so sweet when it's served with a side of collapsing soybean prices and disappearing overseas buyers. We thought he was bluffing, one farmer muttered, poking at a dry calculator and whispering prayers to the market gods. To be fair, not all are ready to jump ship. Some farmers are still holding on, white-knuckled, convinced that this economic pain is just part of a long-term strategy where America eventually wins. Though what that win looks like gets harder to define as profits shrink and loans pile up. Meanwhile, others are starting to shift uncomfortably in their overalls. One local put it bluntly, "We wanted to drain the swamp. Didn't realize we were going to drown the farm, too." The irony here is thicker than a Midwestern casserole. Iowa farmers, many of whom championed policies that boasted America First slogans, now find themselves on the losing end of those very policies. It's like voting for a barbecue ban because you thought it would only apply to other people's ribs. Some are beginning to voice regret. Others are doubling down. A few are just too stunned to speak. As one observer put it, it's like watching someone light their own barn on fire, than complain about the smoke. Still, this isn't about dunking on hardworking Americans who believed in a promise. It's about the complicated, messy, occasionally comical reality of politics meeting the price of corn. There's a lesson here, buried somewhere between the silo and the polling booth. Maybe next time, think twice before voting for a trade war when your livelihood is trade. In the meantime, Iowa's fields remain golden, the MAGA hats are fading in the sun, and the consequences? Well, they've arrived right on time, riding a tractor and carrying a tariff.
What is your message to the Trump administration?
Just stay out of it. I mean, if they would just leave it alone and let the free market do its job, everything would be okay.
Trump has already broken his number one promise to voters that he would bring the cost of foods down. That is just not going to happen. His deportations of immigrants has caused such a huge rippling effect throughout the farm industry that it's caused many laborers who are immigrants to just not show up to work. Many of them have self-deported and gone back to wherever they're from. Going through the fields here in Ventura County, there was no one working. I'm hearing reports that some farmers are saying that 75% of their workforce did not show up to work on Friday. So what does that mean? It means food is going to stay in the vines and rot and go bad. And it means we're going to have a disruption in our food supply chain. So everyone better buckle up because food's about to shoot up really high. The cost of strawberries, the cost of avocados, the cost of lettuce, the cost of everyday things we eat and take for granted are going to shoot up because there is no one in the fields to pick them. So I hope you all are happy who voted for this man.
This is correct. One of the terrible consequences of Trump's trade war with China in imposing all those tariffs on China, China imposed tariffs back, which means U.S. farmers had a harder time exporting their crops, and bankruptcies of farms rose 20% under Trump's administration. Some occasional strategic tariffs against specific countries in specific industries in order to protect growing American industries, for example, supercomputers. Those tariffs can make sense sometimes, but universal tariffs or just starting trade wars across the board, so foolish, so dangerous.
China and the United States, with tariff clashes shaking both economies and the lives of ordinary people. Just a reminder, Donald Trump imposed 145% tariffs on Chinese imports, and China retaliated with 125% tariffs on U.S. goods. These tariffs are delivering harsh blows to small-town America, especially in rural and agricultural communities, which is what we're going to focus on, the American side here. Farming towns, small businesses, and export-driven industries are under mounting financial strain. U.S. soybean orders have dropped by 75%, costing farmers $14 billion annually. The American Soybean Association warns farmers are losing about $1.50 per bushel, which is a big hit when you consider that a bushel sells for $9. Soybean income is projected to fall by 25% this year. China also canceled 12,000 tons of pork orders just this month, which is the largest single-month cancellation since 2020, which was caused by COVID. The National Farmers Union reports 200,000 family farms are struggling with a 40% drop in export sales since 2018. Cotton farmers are reportedly, quote, white-knuckling it through the financial storm, with some smaller farms simply failing as export markets dry up. And it's not just agriculture. In the Midwest, about 1 in 5 jobs are tied to farming. Small-town businesses such as family shops relying on affordable Chinese imports are getting crushed. A $10,000 shipment now costs $24,500 at the port. A Yale study estimates the average U.S. household will lose $4,689 in disposable income, with low-income families losing up to 15% of their annual earnings. Manufacturing towns that hoped tariffs would bring jobs back are seeing the opposite. Studies from 2018 and 2019 showed tariffs cut U.S. manufacturing jobs by 1.2%, or about 150,000 jobs, as higher costs made U.S. goods less competitive and made it harder for Americans to buy things. In small Midwestern cities where up to 30% of the jobs are tied to exports like auto parts, the ripple effect is devastating. The Peterson Institute found U.S. exports to China fell 26% during the last trade war, and with even higher tariffs now, towns that rely on exporting machinery and chemicals face fresh losses. And it's not just the Midwest. Coastal cities like New York and San Francisco are seeing Chinatown merchants crush pushed by soaring costs. In the Southeast, mayors are warning of a rise in farm foreclosures, with the USDA projecting a 15% increase. All of this loss of revenue means cuts to schools, job losses at local grocers, barbers, hardware stores, anywhere farmers and their workers would usually spend their money. Traditionally, the USDA provided aid to help farmers during trade wars, with them providing up to $2.3 billion during the last trade war, but that would barely dent the expected $20 billion in losses today. Making things worse, Trump canceled key USAID food programs that used to purchase $2 billion in farm products each year to go to overseas aid programs, which is drying up another vital source of income for American farmers. Meanwhile, talks with China have stalled. Trump claims that he is speaking with President Xi Jinping, but China denies any negotiation. Beijing has made it clear, no talks until the tariffs are removed. And it seems to be working. Trump's team has hinted at backing down, admitting tariffs are tough to maintain long term. However, Trump originally pitched this as a permanent tariff move because it was going to fund the American workers and fund the reduction in taxes he had promised. But still, there's no Chinese agreement in place, and both sides are now digging in. China's strategy is simple: wait out the Trump administration. They're sidestepping tariffs by shipping goods through Vietnam and South America. Countries are now growing more close to Beijing than Washington, and global markets are experiencing massive whiplash, climbing when rumors of exemptions leak, crashing when fears of a drawn-out fight grow, and in the meantime, Trump's trade war is causing worldwide slowdowns and maybe even a financial crisis if this drags on. American retailers and truckers face layoffs. China is struggling too, but they're playing the long game, and Xi Jinping has tighter controls over what he can do in his country. So Trump has underestimated China's resolve and overestimated his ability to make a deal. He pitched this trade war as a way to protect American interests. Instead, it's hollowing out small-town America. Farmers are losing markets. Shopkeepers are facing impossible costs. Factory workers are seeing no promised job boom. With global trade down 3% and U.S. rural economies projected to shrink 2% next year, these towns face a hard, uncertain road ahead, and it's not just them. This likely is going to impact every single person in the United States. So we might be in for a very long ride here if we don't reverse course.
So, what have we learned today, folks? Well, it turns out you can plant soybeans, but you can't harvest common sense. You can raise hogs, but apparently you can't raise awareness about global economics. And if you back a trade war with your vote, you might just get exactly what you ordered: a big, steaming pile of unintended consequences, served fresh, with a side of economic ruin and maybe a little ketchup if you're lucky. Iowa's farmers, bless their patriotic hearts, just wanted a leader who'd fight for them. Instead, they got tariffs, tanked exports, and more awkward town halls than a PDA meeting with no snacks. And now they're standing in fields of regret, wondering how things went from make America great again to make agriculture grim again. But hey, every vote tells a story. And this one? It's the tale of a political love affair that crashed harder than corn futures in a trade war. Will they learn? Will they change? Or will they just slap a bigger Trump flag on the side of the barn and pray the soybeans forgive them? Only time and another election will tell. If you enjoyed watching this tractor-sized dose of irony, be sure to smash that like button like it's a trade deal that actually benefits farmers. Hit subscribe to stay in the loop for more spicy takes, political plot twists, and deliciously uncomfortable truths from the heartland and beyond. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss when we drop a new video right here on Orbit Point, where we orbit around the madness and always land right in the middle of it.